Okay, if you are in Math 8, we are working in the Course 3 textbook. If you are Math 7 Excel, we are working in the Advanced 2 textbook. We are doing Lesson 1.3, Example 2, and we are on page 20. So today, we're going to be solving multi-step equations with a variable on each side, and we need to use the distributive property. So we're adding that distributive property layer there. So we have -2 times x minus 5 equals 6 times 2 minus 1/2 x. So we have these parentheses. We have a number right next to the parentheses, which means multiplication. But we need to multiply this number by everything in the parentheses. Remember, we had 2 people go to the movies, and each person wanted a soda, and each person wanted a popcorn? That's what we're doing. So we need to distribute first. So we have -2 times x. -2 times x equals -2x. Then we have -2 times -5. -2 times -5. -2 times -5 is +10. Okay. Now we need to distribute the right side. 6 times 2. 6 times 2 is 12. And then we have 6 times -1/2 x. So 6 times -1/2 x is going to be -3x. Now, this should look like the problems we did yesterday. We need to combine our like terms. So I'm going to start with my variables. I need to combine this and this. I need to get the variables to one side. So when I do this, it does not matter which direction I go. I can make this guy go to the right. I can make this guy go to the left. We will get the same answer either way. So when I'm given a choice like that, I try to keep my variable positive. I always try to keep my variable positive, which means I'm going to move this guy over here. So I need to get rid of this -3x or undo it. So I'm going to add 3x. What I do to one side, I must do to the other. Okay, I have a negative and a positive. That means I'm going to subtract. So 3 minus 2 is 1x. And I'm going to keep the sign of my largest number. So I'm left with 1x. Now, this 1 is implied. We don't typically write that 1 there. It's implied. So when we have positive 3x minus 2x, we're left with positive 1x. That 1, we don't typically write it in. Okay? It's the same thing as just x. And we keep the sign of our largest number, so it's positive. And that positive as well is implied. We don't typically write it in. It's implied. Then everything else comes down. Those guys cancel. Now this should look like a problem you know how to do. We need to isolate the variable. So to isolate that variable, I need to get rid of this positive 10. I need to undo it. So to undo positive 10, I'm going to use -10. What I do to one side, I must do to the other. So these guys cancel, and I'm left with x equals 12 minus 10 is 2. So the solution is x equals 2. Okay, let's do another one. 6 times 4 minus x equals 2x. So the first thing I'm going to do is distribute. This is 6 times 4. 6 times 4 is 24. Then we have 6 times negative x. 6 times negative x is going to be negative 6x equals, everything else comes down. Now I need to isolate my variables. So in this case, since I have a constant and a variable on the left and just a variable on the right, I'm going to move this to the right. So I need to get rid of or undo this negative 6x. So I'm going to use inverse operations, positive 6x. What I do to one side, I must do to the other. So these guys cancel and I'm left with 24 equals a positive and a positive. I'm going to add them together and keep the sign. Now this is definitely something you know how to do. I need to isolate that variable. So I need to get rid of or undo this times 8. To undo times 8, I'm going to divide by 8. What I do to one side, I must do to the other. 24 divided by 8 is 3. These guys cancel. So my solution is x equals 3. Okay, let's do another practice problem. Six times 1 plus 1/2 x equals 2 times x plus 1. So here we have to distribute on both sides. We can handle that. 6 times 1 is 6. Let's take this one. 6 times 1/2 x. 6 times 1/2 x is going to be positive 3x. Two times x is 2x. And then 2 times 1. 2 times 1 is going to be positive 2. Now we need to combine like terms. We need to isolate the variable, but to do that, we need to combine like terms. So here, it doesn't matter which direction I go. I always try to keep a positive variable. So if that's the case, I'm going to move this guy over here. So I need to get rid of or undo this positive 2x. To undo positive 2x, I'm going to use inverse operations and subtract 2x. What I do to one side, I must do to the other. So 6 comes down, 3x minus 2x. Okay, I'm going to subtract and keep the sign of my largest number. So that's going to be positive x. And remember, this 1 is implied. We don't typically write this 1 because 1 times x is x. So this 1 is implied. Equals, these guys cancel, everything else comes down. So now I need to isolate my variable, which means I need to get rid of this positive 6. To get rid of positive 6, I'm going to use the inverse and subtract 6. What I do to one side, I must do to the other. These guys cancel, and I'm left with x, positive 1x, that's implied, equals 2 minus 6. I have a positive and a negative. So I'm going to subtract and keep the sign of my largest. So the solution is x equals -4. Okay, I want to set one problem up with you before I release you to do homework. So in your homework, you're going to see this problem. It is page 23, number 16. Okay, the equation 4 5/100 p plus 14 40/100 equals 4 50/100 times p plus 3 represents the number p of pounds of peanuts you need to make trail mix. How many pounds of peanuts do you need for the trail mix? So they're giving us the equation. They're giving us the equation. What we need to do first is distribute. So this is 4.50 times P, which is going to be 4.50 P. Oops. Then we have 4.50 times 3. Now, can you use a calculator for this? Yes, please do. That's fine. It equals 13.5. Then everything else comes down. And you need to combine your like terms and then work it from there. So I'm not going to solve this problem for you, but I did want to help you set it up.